Welcome to this session. We're going to do some really lovely balancing poses, but as a lead up to them, we will prepare with some floor work and um, some standing poses. Um, and even before we start, we'll put an emphasis on breathing. So to that end, let's come up and take a standing position on the mat and grab your yoga belt along the way. You'll also need a few blankets for today's session, a bolster later on for comfort and for sitting on, and your yoga block. And starting standing, and I have my strap, we're going to do a little bit of breath awareness. So take up your yoga belt and bring it around your back, where you can have two loose ends on the side, equal length, and just pull the tension on the strap. And then soften the backs of your knees, relax your shoulders, relax your face, and take your breath and direct it into the back ribs when you inhale. And then exhaling that releasing breath. Inhale, opening up through the back ribs. And exhale, releasing that breath. Just with having the strap there, the emphasis is greater on the back ribs. I can feel into them a little bit more with the resistance of the belt pushing against the belt. So now we're going to change the position of the belt a little bit. And if you double it up and place it into your left hand, you still have the two ends of the belt the same length, but now the strap is on the right side of your rib cage, and you're pulling a little bit with your, did I say your left hand holding the belt? Yeah. And so now feel the breath into your side ribs, your right side ribs a little bit more when you inhale. And it's as though you're trying to fill that lung a little bit more, your right side lung. And we don't usually do this with that emphasis. We're just exaggerating the potential for using the right lung. And if we bring the belt all the way around to the other side and take up the belt into the right hand, you can feel the strap on the left side of your rib cage where your left side diaphragm is, and breathe into that side and filling up that left lung and opening it up to the left side. So we're using the rib cage in a little bit more exaggerated way than we would normally, just to see what the potential of it is there. And then take up the belt like you did in the very beginning and cross the belt in front of your rib cage. So you've got this cross where the diaphragm is, and you're holding the strap on either side. And then when you inhale, the belt opens up a little bit. When you exhale, pull the ends and deflate the breath. Inhale is full and out to the side ribs, the front ribs now, the back ribs. And exhale is that releasing breath. Make sure that you're not overlocking the knees. Keep them a little soft behind the knees and your shoulders relaxed. One more big breath like that. Inhale fully circumferentially all around the rib cage. And exhale, we're going to release the belt and leave it to the side. And take a lying down position on your mat. But to get there, let's do this in this manner. So I'm facing the short end of my mat. I'm going to take a little step back with one foot. And then take a kind of lowering down lunge, bending both knees and going kind of into my lunge near to the floor and then pulling back up. Let's step back the other foot. So, and balancing there, it's an early balancing part of the lesson today. And then bending the both knees and lowering down. I've got my hands resting on my front knee and then straightening up. And let's do that stepping back again. Get your balance. And lowering down. And straightening up, step forward. And last one, and the opposite leg steps back. Bend the front knee, bend the back knee. Now we're going to go all the way to the ground this time, and you're very close as you are anyway. Bring your hands forward, hinge forward from your hips, bring your hands down to the mat. You're on all fours kneeling for a moment, but now you're just going to roll onto your back. So that's a method for you to get down to the floor. It seems a little complicated, but for people that are restricted in movement, it's probably a very safe way to get down to the floor in those steps. And now that we're settling in, the legs are bent, the feet on the floor near to the buttocks, and the arms just by your side. Turn your palms down and press your shoulders into the mat and release them. A little pressure, waking up the dorsal thoracic part of your spine, and a little pressure and a little release. And then do the same thing with just relaxing your shoulders and pressing the back of your head lightly into the mat. And I do underscore that word lightly. And press. And you might feel a little activation through the front of your neck as you do this. Pressure on the exhalation and then release. Let's go back to the breath emphasis and rest your hands over the torso. Facial features soft, shoulders down. And then take your inhalation and feel the abdomen inflate. And then deflate with the exhalation. And since we did that early breathing exercise, take a breath that is more circumferential. So you feel it, the abdomen, the sides of your rib cage, the back ribs. And a little rocking through your pelvis. We're in contact with the back body here. And then drop your arms by your side, and then let's take that pelvic tilt that you were doing in a small movement into the bridge. And press your feet, and inhale, and lift your buttocks off the floor, elevate them, and exhale back down to ground. These are little movements as we're in the warm-up phase, and inhaling and lifting the pelvis, and exhale down to ground. The next time that you lift off and come into your small bridge, bring your arms overhead too. So we're still in the raised position. Keep your arms overhead and stretch the arms away from your chest and stretch your thighs away from your pelvis. Keep your arms where they are and lower your back down. And inhale, come back up. And the arms are still in that overhead stretch. And exhale to ground. I think one more round. And inhale. Feel your shoulders still pressing a little bit towards the floor. And exhale. Thighs stretch away. Bring your arms forward and back by your side at the same time as your buttocks touch the ground. Lovely. And then from here, extend, let's say, your left leg out away from your left hip. Flex that foot. Your right leg is still bent and with the foot on the floor. And then bring your left arm overhead. And let's do a lovely lateral stretch of that left side of your body. Your fingertips stretching away from your shoulder and your ribs, and your heel stretching away and lengthening the back of the left leg. And we do that with the breath. And inhale and long arm, long leg. Exhale, release. One more time, you're pressing your right foot into the floor as you extend the left heel away from you, the left arm away from you. And then release all of that and fold your arm in, fold your leg in, and 2 feet on the floor, arms by your side. Second side, right arm, bring it overhead in a long, languorous stretch. Extend your your right leg away from your right arm. And use your breath here to good effect. Inhale, length. Exhale, a little release. When I do this, I really love it because I can connect with even my internal organs feel like they're getting stretch and space. Inhale, long arm, long leg. Exhale, let it go. And then ready to bring the arm in, both feet on the floor, and back to your starting position. Let's do a little work on your hamstring. Bend your left knee into your chest. Grab hold with your hands clasped behind the left leg and extend the left leg up towards the ceiling. So left leg straight at the knee. Flex your left foot. When you look at it, maybe you could see the heel a little higher than the forefoot and toes. And pressing into your hands with the breath again. Exhale. Inhale, release. Exhale allows you to activate the front thigh muscle and stretch the back of the thigh. Exhale, press away. Inhale, let go. Bring that foot back to the floor. Pause, consolidate. Right knee to your chest. Clasp your hands behind the back of the right thigh and extend that leg well up towards the ceiling. Flex your foot, heel up, press away, release. Exhale, press away. Inhale, release. One more. Strong front thigh muscle pressing into the back hamstrings, and then let go, and 2 feet on the floor. We're going to move on from here into all fours kneeling position. And set yourself up well here where you're kneeling comfortably. I generally use a doubled up mat, and that saves my patellas. So you can have a extra bit of padding if you need it here. And then what we're doing is lifting the upper spine up towards the ceiling. There's that dorsothoracic. And then exhale, releasing the shoulders and the scapula down. Inhale, push away. Inhale, releasing. Exhale, curving through the upper part of your back. Inhaling back to neutral. And one more time. Tuck your toes under. Reach your hands around the outside of your mat. Get a good hand clasp there. So what I've done is I've taken my fingers underneath the mat, all 4 fingers, and my thumbs on top. And I'm going to pull the mat forward with my mighty strength. Pull the mat forward, and then from the upper back, lift up. Lift your knees up. Lift your hips up. We've got a wide arm position. Step your feet out so that the feet and the hips are wide too. And then come onto the forefoot, the backs of the toes. Lift the heels high. Let your head release down. And it is as though you're pulling the mat forward and stretching the hips up and back. And then let's come to ground after our unusual dog pose and give your wrists a rest. Come down onto your forearms. Flip your hands over and open and close your hands a few times. And then back to all fours kneeling. We'll come into a dog pose again, but with the hands positioned shoulder width distance. Tuck your toes under and lift the upper part of your spine towards the ceiling. Draw the navel towards the backbone and press your hands. Lift your hips up towards the ceiling. And instead of being on the balls of the feet this time, lower the heels and alternate the heels. So one heel comes down, then lifts up, the other heel down, and we're walking the dog. I like to do this really slowly, just so I get the sense of using as many of my foot bones as possible. So rolling from the forefoot to the midfoot to the heel alternately, getting that nice rocking feeling through the hips. Good. And then let's hold the position as a static dog pose. Straighten the elbows. Stretch the hips away from the ribs, the arms away from the ribs. And then back to kneeling. Lower the knees. Lift the upper part of your back up towards the ceiling. And then gradually ease your hips back towards your heels. You're more warmed up than when we started a little while ago, but be kind to your knees and avoid overly compressing them. Then lift up onto your fingertips. Lift your chest. Lift your head. Look out a little bit beyond your mat. Lift your armpits as well. Lengthen the underside of your arms by walking, tiptoeing your fingers forward. So you've got a really long torso from hips to fingertips. And then take a walk with your hands and walk your hands around towards the left side. And lift your chest again. Look out beyond your hands. Press your left hand a little bit more. Bring your ribs around towards the left side. And then let's go on a walk to the opposite side. And all the way around to the right. We're not going down so much as lifting up through the torso so it's long and lithe and easier to rotate. Press your right hand a little bit more. Bring your right ribs further to the right. And then bring yourself back to center and do lower down into child's pose. Bring your elbows down. Bring your elbows back towards your knees. Stack your hands up so one hand is on top of the other and rest your head onto your top hand. A little breather, a little connection with the breath, maybe even that circumferential breath. Back ribs, side ribs, front ribs. And then from here, all fours kneeling. We'll use dog pose as the transition to come up. Tuck your toes under, lift up, take a little walk forward with your feet, walk back with your hands, and inhale and come up all the way to standing. Once you're standing, we'll do preparation for Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Take your hands to the bottom of your torso, the tops of your thighs. Bend your knees a little bit and hinge forward from the top thigh area. Bring your hands onto your knees or your shin bones. Get a good grasp of your legs there. And then project your ribs forward. Keep your head up, keep your chest up. Project your ribs forward so it feels like from that movement you're even allowing a lengthening through the abdominal wall from your pubic bone to your bottom ribs, projecting the ribs forward, bringing the ribs forward, chest up, shoulders back. And then maybe we're ready now for full Uttanasana and lowering the hands down, releasing the head down, relaxing through the back of the neck. Have a look at your feet. You're in a good position to do that, and transfer a little bit more of the weight towards the forefoot. Lift the back of the legs towards the buttocks and the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Good. Keep the abdomen engaged. Bend the knees over your ankles. Bring your hands onto your hips. Press your hips down onto your legs and roll all the way up to standing. Let's do a little balancing and strengthening work. I'm going to move near to a wall because at several points I'm going to be using the wall. And let's do some alternate heel lifts. One heel lifts and then the other. When we do this, we're rolling through the foot bones. And you could say we're articulating the feet. So if we go slow, you have more of the sense of that, the feeling for it. But let's take it fully into both heels lifting. Keep your weight on your feet towards the inside and the base of the big toe to avoid rolling the ankles out. I'm a little reliant on the wall here, just a kind of a light touch while I'm trying to talk and balance at the same time. But if it's easier for you to balance than I'm having here, you can bring your arms up as well. When you do that, you've changed the center of gravity, so makes it a little more difficult. And then lower the heels. Good. So you're strengthening those foot bones and muscles too. Let's do one more thing. So balance on your left leg, lift your right heel, and then lift your knee towards your chest. So one-legged balancing. Good. And then lower that foot and leg and lift your left heel. Bring that left knee up towards your chest. Make sure that you're still breathing and remember that potential of your rib cage to open in all directions. And then replacing that foot onto the floor. Give your legs a little bit of a shake out. So we're not getting too uptight about this. Let's do another balancing exercise. So take a position where your back is to the wall. Rest your back body on the wall and step your right foot out about a foot away from the wall. Lift your left heel, lift your left foot, and then place your left foot on the wall. It's going to be just in the line underneath the buttock. Keeping your hands free, your arms free, you're going to move away from the wall by pressing that left foot and moving the whole back body away from the wall in one movement. So pressing into the wall and upright, and then coming back to the wall and the whole body, head, shoulders, and buttocks at the same time. So if you haven't done that before, it's kind of an unusual movement, so try again with a little planning and pressing the both feet strongly, but especially that wall foot, moving the buttocks, shoulders, head away from the wall, all at the same time. And back to the wall. And land lightly. It always is more trouble doing these things when you're talking at the same time. So moving away from the wall, following my own instructions, and then back to the wall. Okay. And then when you bring that foot down, you have kind of a baseline for that movement now, and you're aware of where you're going with it, the pathway. So we're going to lift the right foot onto the wall just below the buttock. Settle for a moment, relax your shoulders, and then see what it's like on this side. And press the right foot into the wall, move away, and back. If you're new to this and your balance is a bit shaky, we say you're having a bad balance day, then use your hands on the wall too to help you if you need to. I'm finding I'm much stronger on this side, even with talking through it. And buttocks, shoulders, head come back to the wall at the same time. And then we'll complete there and release the foot and away from the wall and standing. So a little bit of balancing work, but also a lot of work on strengthening your legs. And we'll take that into the next pose, which is wall chair pose. So now I'm still using the wall for support, and I've moved my feet about 35 centimeters away from the wall. We take a squat with this pose, but just a small one, as we slide down the wall into this propped up wall chair pose. You can see from the side that my angle behind my knees is less than a right angle. If I take more than a right angle, I have to have my feet away from the wall and come down. I think that's approximating a right angle. But now my quadriceps, my thigh muscles are having to work, like 50% more, 75% more. You can have your arms just loose by your side. And we've been here for a little while. So let's slide up, take a break, take your feet closer to the wall. And then let's have one more go. I think I'm approximating something like 45 seconds. And come into your obtuse angle behind your knees, if that feels better for your strength at the moment, or more of a acute angle with a right angle at the knees. And then my arms are loose by my side, but you can keep your hands resting on your thighs if that's more comforting. And just having a nice time here. I'm going to ask one more thing of you, and that will strengthen the pose a little bit more if you want to. If you choose to take that idea, transfer your weight onto your heels. Bring your weight right back onto your heels. And then let's get out of this, straightening the legs, walk your feet in, and do a nice patting of the thigh muscles, the inner thighs, the side of them, the backs of your thighs, and give your legs a shake out. And we're ready for a few standing poses. For these standing poses, I am going to use a wall position, and at some point I'll need a yoga block. And let's start side on to the wall. Bring your left foot into the base of the skirting board. So the whole outer arch of your foot is against the support there. And then step your right foot out towards the center of the room. Line your right heel up with your left heel. And keep your trunk in the center in preparation for triangle pose, Trikonasana. Bring your left hand onto your left hip. Extend your right arm out towards the center of the room. When we did our lateral stretches, side body stretches, they've prepared you for this. So we're going to lengthen that right side body all the way out towards over the right leg. And bring the right hand down below your right shoulder and your left arm up towards the ceiling. Good. So much easier to balance here when you've got 2 feet on the floor. Feel your back foot pressing into the base of the skirting board so that you're well aware of that side of your body. And then lengthen the underneath of your rib cage towards over the right leg. Draw the right buttock in and down. Lift your tailbone. Broaden across your shoulders. If it's easy for you to rotate your head, look up at your raised hand. Otherwise, straight forward. Your head the same position as the front of your chest. Inhale and come up. Beautiful. And other side. I'm going to go this way for another angle, and the right foot against the skirting board, and the left foot step it out. Heels in a line. Right hand, right hip, left arm out over the left leg. Good. Feel the thigh muscles toned, and then reach out in that side body stretch over your left leg. Left hand down. Roll the left shoulder back. Extend the right arm up towards the ceiling. Notice if there's a tendency to clench the toes and look for the weight bearing through the whole of the sole of your foot, from your forefoot to your heel. And then especially on the back foot, pushing into the wall. And then finally, tuck the left buttock under, bring it forward, lift the tailbone, and if you're turning your head, look up. Take a moment and inhale and come up with the breath. Turn your left foot forward and step in towards the center of the mat. And we will repeat that. And back to left foot to the wall. There's a reason why we're taking this particular way of working and with the wall support. And you'll see it show up when we get to the balancing pose, Ardha Chandrasana. So we want the back leg to be very active. And then right arm stretches out towards the center of the room. Keep the left hand onto your left hip. And then lengthen the side body. If I lift my arm a little bit higher, the underneath of my arm extending out. And then almost reluctantly bringing my hand down onto my shin. Turn your right ribs forward, tuck the right buttock in, and feel all the length of the left leg and strength of the left leg back towards the wall, and left arm up towards the ceiling. Let's broaden across the back, the thoracic area, broad. Lift the tailbone. Feel your breath in the back body, side body, front body. And pressing into the wall, left foot presses into the wall, it brings you up. Inhale. And fourth side, I think now. And right foot to the wall. Step right out. Good. Take a moment, be centered, your torso directly above your pelvis, both sides of your chest parallel. Rest your right hand on your right hip. Extend the left arm out, but a little up so that you get more length and lateral extension. And then left hand down. You're still extending out over that leg. Even if you don't move any further, there's the intention there. And then keep the stretch back into your right leg, into your right outer arch of your foot, and right arm up towards the ceiling. Tuck that left buttock in, tuck it under, lift your tailbone, lift your chest, especially the left side of your chest. And then inhale and come up, and turn the left foot in and step in. And let's take resting Uttanasana. Not a complete rest like Shavasana, but a little break. Fold your arms, hold your elbows, stretch your arms up towards the ceiling, and then bring your arms forward. As you come forward, soften the backs of your knees, bend your knees a little bit, lift your buttock bones up towards the ceiling. Keep a deep crease at the hip fold, so your top thigh is lifting up and the lower abdomen is lifting up. Take a couple of deep breaths there. And on the next exhalation, drop your arms. Let your elbows be relaxed. Bend your knees over your ankles. Press your feet and roll up. My head comes up last. Back to the wall, and this time with your block. So with the wall support, bring the left outer arch of your foot parallel with the base of the skirting board. Step your right foot out. Line your heels up. We're going to use the block for support on the outside of your right foot. And I'm going to keep it to the high end just because I can. And then starting, you place the block on outside of your ankle and shin bone on the high end. Starting with a knee bend, bring your hands onto your hips and bend that right knee. Now we're looking for something close to a right angle, but that depends on your own anatomy. I'm going to move my foot out a little bit further. And then from here, like you did with Trikonasana, extend your right arm out to the right side. Extend your ribs over your right thigh. Finally, reach your hand down onto the top of the block. I've got the heel of my hand onto the top of the block. I don't know why, it does seem the case when you bring your hand down, you bring your hip up. So I'm just going to bend a little bit more so my patella is directly over my ankle. And then from here, we're lengthening back into that left leg, pressing the outer arch of the foot. We want to keep the back leg as active as the front leg. And then finally, bring the left arm up towards the ceiling. Turn your palm towards the um, right side, and then bring that left arm over your left ear. Keep it lifted a little bit and bring your ear closer to your arm. Stretch back into that wall leg. Lift your tailbone. Open up the right side of your rib cage. Bring it forward. Take the block with you when you come up, just to be efficient. And inhale, raise that arm, straighten the leg, turn the right foot in, step in, and other side. Now we're going to wedge the right foot in against the skirting board and step the left foot out. Now you've got, you can gauge the distance pretty easily and place the block on the high end on the outside of that ankle and shin bone. Keep your hands onto your hips, a little knee bend. Extend your left arm out towards the center of the room. Let's say you reach your right hand back towards the wall with your right arm bent this time. Keep your chest high and then lean over that left leg, your right arm behind you extended, and bring your left hand down onto the top of the block, your right arm straight up towards the ceiling on this side. Like I said, I tend to lift my hip a little bit when I take my hand down, so I'm going to drop that left hip more, tuck it under, tuck it in, and then bring the right arm overhead towards the center of the room. And then very, very straight right arm, very, very straight right leg reaching back to the wall, arch of the foot into the wall. And then we're going to come up and take the block with us. Inhale, come up. Turn the back foot, the left foot in, step in, and all the way into center. I think we'll just take that round instead of repetition and move on to the balancing pose, Ardha Chandrasana. So back to my wall position, and left foot against the wall and right foot towards the center of the room. We'll start with Trikonasana so that we're traveling the same pathway as we did before. And we are going to use the block again. So the heels line up, right heel with the left heel, that left foot solidly wedged against the wall, and I've stepped out about a little less than a meter. Bend your right leg and place the block out with your right hand at a reach. So it's about, I think, maybe 15 centimeters, 12 centimeters in front of your right foot little toe. Once you've placed the block, come back up. It's there at the ready. But let's start, as I said, with Trikonasana. Right arm up, left hand up and behind you with the elbow bent, and then extend out over the right leg. Bring your right hand down onto your right shin and your left arm up towards the ceiling. Pause there. Stay calm. We're going to move into the balancing pose. Left hand, left hip. You're going to take a small step, left foot towards your right foot, so your 2 feet are on the floor. Still. Reach your right hand out onto the top of the block. Once again, I've got it on the high end. And we're going to reach the left foot back onto the wall and bear your weight through your right leg. And as you can see, I underestimated my distance. I'm going to bring my right foot a little further forward. And then you might have to do that too, where you thought you were one distance and you were a little shy or you were too far. We want the right leg to be directly underneath the right hip. Keep a little knee bend and it'll make you work those leg muscles more. And then remember, on the back leg, we want to push into the wall like you did in your Trikonasana and Parsvakonasana. And finally, if you're reasonably well balanced there, then extend up your left arm over your right arm. And then exiting from the pose, we're going to aim and stay calm and come back to Trikonasana. Bend your right knee a little bit, and then as you release from the block, left foot to the floor, right hand, right shin, left arm up towards the ceiling. Like I said, staying calm and inhale and come up. Turn your right foot forward, step in. Second side, we're doing really well. Now, right foot wedged in against the base of the skirting board. Left foot turns out 90 degrees. We're set up for Trikonasana, your pathway in a relaxed fashion to the balancing pose. Bend your left knee a little bit. Take your block out in front of your left foot little toe. Have it on the high end if you choose. And then right hand, right hip. Left arm out towards the center of the room. We're going to move into Trikonasana. Reach out, reach down, left hand, reach up, right arm. There you are. Tuck that buttock under, left buttock under, lift the tail. And then looking down, because that's where you're going to place your hand down onto the block in a moment. Right hand, right hip. Take a little step forward with your right foot as you bring your left hand onto the block. And then bring your right foot onto the wall. At hip height or a little bit lower depending on your anatomy. And once you got there, or you may still be working towards that, then stabilize and raise the right arm. Press into the wall with your extended right leg. And we're going to slowly release from the pose, right hand, right hip. Bend the left knee a little bit more and reach for the floor with your right foot back to Trikonasana. Take some forward planning. Good, we got there. And then inhale and come up. Turn the left foot in, step in, and well done. And now we're going to take a break in Uttanasana at the wall. So back to your wall spot. As I said, back to your back body to the wall. Then step your feet out. So you did this in wall chair pose. Step your feet out, but this time keep a little knee bend and then let your buttocks slide up the wall as you dive forward into Uttanasana, into your standing forward bend. Let your arms hang loose, your elbows are soft, the backs of your knees relaxed. But do keep the abdomen lifted and the pelvic floor lifted too. Release the back of your neck to the crown of your head. And then take some soft breaths there where the breath is circumferential, front, back, and sides. All right, there is one more part of this balancing sequence, and let's take that next. Bend your knees, bring your hands onto the wall, push away from the wall, and straighten up. And take up your block again. In the one-legged balancing that we're about to do, I'm going to use the block for support in front of us. And let me demonstrate first. So how far am I from the wall? I'm estimating a leg length distance, and it looks like this. In my Uttanasana forward bend, my hands supported onto the top of the block. I'm going to make my balancing foot and leg my right leg, and then bring my left foot back onto the wall at hip height or a little bit lower. And it looks like this. And like so. So you're balancing on your right foot, you bend your knees, keep a knee bend, and then bring the left foot back onto the wall. Now you've got your one-legged balancing, but you're well balanced because you're using your hands and your arms as well. So from here, drop the left hip a little bit, lift the right hip, lift your chest and look out beyond the block onto the mat in front of you or the carpet in front of you. Stretch back into that wall foot. And left foot down along its mate, alongside its mate. Consolidate. Nothing like having 2 feet on the ground after that. And then bend your knees a little bit. You're going to bring your right foot onto the wall. It's a little bit of a leap of faith when you do that, especially if you're talking at the same time. And your right foot pushing into the wall. You did all the preparation in the standing poses when you had 2 feet on the ground. And then lift that, drop the right hip a little bit, lift the left hip, lift your chest. Back to ground. We're going to have one more round. Bend your knees a little bit. Your right foot's your balancing foot, and you're going to bring your left foot onto the wall. And here we go. And we've done all this work towards balancing just one hand, one leg. So we're going to do a little twist, a rotation towards the standing leg. Balance your weight just onto your left hand now on the top of the block. Bring your right hand onto your right hip. Turn in towards the balancing leg, the right leg. Lift the right shoulder. Bring the right elbow back. Turn your chest, turn your belly. Beautiful. And then looking down and bringing that leg down alongside its mate. 2 hands onto the block again. You're in Uttanasana, elevated Uttanasana. And we're going to balance on your left leg and bring your right foot onto the wall. Take a moment. You're almost there. And now just balancing on your right hand. I brought it across a little bit to the left side on the block. Left hand, left hip. Straighten that supporting arm. Lift up your chest and turn to the left side. Straighten the back leg as you can. If we were taking this to the final stage, then you would raise up the opposite arm. Looking down, left hand, left hip, right foot to the floor. Uttanasana. Release your hands from the block and release the whole of your torso. Relax your shoulders. And then lift your navel towards your spine, bend your knees over your ankles, and slowly roll all the way up. Well done. Let's take a moment in a slight inversion. Yes. So lie on your back, grab your block, and slip the block on the low end underneath your sacrum. So we lift the hips, block underneath the base of your spine. Lift one foot off the floor, second foot off the floor, and then extend the legs up. And we'll just use this as a releasing and relaxing position for a moment, and then we'll move on to the final pose. If there's any difficulty in keeping the legs vertical as they are, you can hold the backs of the legs and keep a knee bend. That may make you feel more stable on your low back and your sacrum. And then bend your knees and hold at the front of your knees or hold onto your shin bones. Separate your knees. You could even picture this as an upside down child's pose. Your thighs near to your ribs. And I'd like to do a wall version of shoulder stand, Sarvangasana. Bring your feet back to the floor. Slide out that block. And we're finished using it for now. And when you come up, take your blankets. And I have a stack of them. I happen to have 3, which seems to work for my body. A stack of 3 blankets with the smooth edge of the blankets in one line. And I'm going to take the blankets near to the wall, but not all the way to the wall. Like we do for legs up the wall, Viparita Karani, I'm going to use that approach for getting into my position for using the wall to get up into Sarvangasana. So if I'm side on to the wall and I'm in the space between the blankets and the wall, that's probably the right distance for me, but it just depends on your own anatomy. From here, this is always the complicated part of it. We do a shoulder roll and bring the legs up onto the wall, like that. And then move on your blankets so that you're centered on them, and move your shoulders right to the sharp edge that those folded edges of the blankets make, and your neck and your head off the blankets. So I've got my hips elevated here onto the blanket, my legs bent and feet on the wall. And now I can use the power of my legs, pressing my feet into the wall to lift my buttocks up. As I do that, I approach the edge of the blanket. I don't want to go over the edge. And I'm just there a little shy of the edge. So this is partly the movement that you did in the bridge earlier. So you've prepared well to lift your hips. I'm going to take my feet up the wall a little bit more to lift my hips higher. And now I've got space to bring my hands on to the back of my pelvis. And this might be the place where you, for your body, stop. So you're well supported, your feet on the wall, and your hips elevated.
your hands supporting you onto your back. Actually, my hands are not quite onto my back, so I'm going to bring one elbow in, the other elbow in, and take a better grasp of my back, meaning closer to my lumbar area. So my hands are on my lumbar spine, or that part of my back. And then finally, if you're ready to take the leap, you can bring one leg away from the wall. Press the wall foot, the opposite foot into the wall, lift your hips. And then let's swap it over. And left leg, foot away from the wall, straight up towards the ceiling. Press your right foot into the wall, lift up your hips. And then if you swing that left leg forward and the right leg forward, you might end up in this position where you're balancing on your shoulders. And at this point, I can let my legs come a little more forward and get a better grasp and towards my mid-lumbar area and the heels of my hands supporting my back. And legs stretch up. Keep your feet parallel, your legs parallel. Switch on your buttock muscles and lift your tailbone, lift your sacrum. And now we're going to unwind one foot onto the wall, second foot on the wall. Keep your hips up, but release your hands. Drop your arms to the side and slowly lower down from your shoulders, your top spine, your mid spine, your lower spine. And just before you touch down, your feet are still on the wall. Push away from the wall and slide back towards the center of the room. Keep moving back away from the wall until your back waist is on the edge of the blanket where you had your shoulders. And then that should give you enough room to fold your legs, cross your legs loosely, or feet together, Baddha Konasana, the knees dropping out, your arms dropping out to the side. And it's time to move into the yoga relaxation. So you give yourself a little bit of time to come up and arrange yourself for that. So knees up and roll over off your props. And up to a seated position. I'll use just one of these blankets for a support for my head, a pillow for my head in Shavasana, in the relaxation. I've planned well ahead this time and have an eye covering. So there's a blanket for my head. I also prepared and have a bolster for supporting the backs of my knees. Make sure that you have adequate clothing to cover your body and stay warm if you need to, or an extra blanket. So I've done this arrangement, and the bolster is more underneath the backs of my thighs than the backs of my knees, and settling in. Where I've laid out my body, I'm going to lift my pelvis a little bit, lengthen my tailbone away from the base of my spine. And then lift my back chest a little bit and draw my shoulders and my shoulder blades down. From here, I'm ready to take up my eye covering.
Even though sometimes it feels like using the props is an indulgence, especially at the end of a session, and to give the best result of letting go. The props are there so that we can yield the body into their softness, to their support, and not the least an eye covering, because you can close your eyes, but they don't necessarily relax. And just a little bit of weight over the eyelids can take you to that place. Not so much more quickly, but more deeply. So take this time now to let the back body soften into the mat, into your props. Your heel bones, the backs of your thighs, the hamstrings, the buttocks broad and soft on the floor. Your arms soft at the elbows, shrinking back a little bit towards the floor. The back chest well supported so that the skin, the muscles at the front of the chest soften, broaden, and give space to the lungs, to the heart. And this is your time, in particular, just to let go and be with yourself. Feel your breath come and go. And we've been quiet for this little while, and that's something we want to cultivate, a sense of peacefulness and internal quiet, and not disturb it. However, there comes a time when you need to move. So you could start by making some small movements with your fingers, your hands, toes and feet. A little rocking through the back of your head side to side. And then take as an initial step when you bend your legs in, just to rest on one side in a kind of fetal position. I like to think, even though it might be just moments, that this is my leisure time and I have all the time in the world. And then help yourself to an upright position. Either kneeling or sitting on a folded blanket. There's an expression that we can sit upright but not uptight. So find that optimum position where you're balanced on your sitting bones. And then rest your hands onto your legs. Draw your elbows back towards the sides of your waist. And then bring your hands up into prayer position in front of your chest. Take a moment and just evaluate your work in the session today. Acknowledge yourself for the effort that you put in. And feel into the whole body. Allow the shoulders to relax, the legs to relax. And also feeling into the heart center where we fund the energy of the practice. And feel the warmth of your own heart, the kindness there. And we'll complete the session by saying Namaste. Thank you.